Hi guys, welcome back to the channel. Today I just wanted to do a quick introduction and let you guys know that I want to go ahead and try to recreate a recipe that I found recently. And that recipe is going to be a slow cooker honey sesame chicken. I know that that is probably something that people would probably generally get if they ordered Chinese takeout or something like that. There's generally some sort of form of a honey chicken available, or honey sesame chicken, and that just sounded really good to me. Forgive me, my arm is really hurting. Now, if you all have had any version of Chinese takeout before, then you're probably familiar with honey chicken or some sort of honey sesame chicken. And I'm just going to swap out a few things to kind of make the recipe my own, to make it a lower carb, I don't know if you want to call it keto, but lower carb version of this recipe. I'm really excited to try it. This is my first time testing this out, so if you guys are interested in seeing what this recipe is and how I make it, go ahead and keep watching. Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. Today I'm going to show you the recipe for honey sesame chicken. And these are the ingredients that I have gathered together. I am kind of following a recipe, but then also making it my own because I am trying to make it lower carb, or if you want to say keto, basically. I'm going to make a lower carb version of this. So I have some chives. We can garnish the chicken with this whenever it's done. This is going to be a slow cooker meal, by the way, so I'm actually going to prep this tonight and let it marinate overnight and then put it in the slow cooker tomorrow while I'm at work and just let it cook on low all day. So that's the plan with mine. However, you do not have to let it marinate by any means, but that's just what I'm going to do because that's what works for me. So chives for the top of it, a medium onion, I got some minced garlic. You can use fresh garlic if you choose. Fresh garlic is always ideal. I have some liquid aminos. It does call for soy sauce. Liquid aminos, in my opinion, is a better option, better choice. I mean, there are like no carbs in this, and there are, I think, 5 calories per serving in this. So it's a really good option to use. It does call for a tiny bit of ketchup. I actually have this Primal Kitchen organic and unsweetened ketchup, and that's what I am going to use instead of regular ketchup. Calls for honey. I have this keto honey that I have been using for the last several months. I have gotten this from the Chalk Zero website, and then Chalk Zero was out of it, so I went ahead and I ordered it on Amazon. If I remember, I'll try to link the Amazon link below for the keto honey that I ordered through them. You are going to pay about $7 to $8 for this. You know, it's not the cheapest item ever, but totally worth it in my opinion. The carb count is really, really low. Pretty much, it's hard to see right now because there's a sticker over it. But the carb and calorie count are both very good. And we're going to be using a decent amount of this. So, yeah, that is our honey replacement. I have sesame seeds, and that is just for the top of the dish, basically as a garnish. Salt and pepper here, and then it calls for vegetable oil. If I would have had sesame oil, that would have been my choice, hands down, because sesame oil would have been great in this dish. Anything that you make that is kind of like Chinese takeout inspired or Asian flair, anything like that, you're going to want to use sesame oil. It is a game changer, and a little bit goes a long way, to be honest. The recipe called for vegetable oil. I'm swapping it out for extra virgin olive oil. And then, of course, I have my chicken here that I have gone ahead and diced into a little bit smaller pieces. These chicken breasts were very big, and I just didn't want you guys to have to watch that on camera. Cutting chicken is not the most wonderful thing to do as it is, so I wasn't going to have you guys suffer through that. So I did go ahead and cut up about 2.5 to 3 pounds of chicken. The recipe calls for 2 pounds of chicken. You can use whatever kind of chicken you like. If you like chicken thighs go for it. These are boneless, skinless chicken breast, and that is just my chicken of choice, so that's what we're going to use. I'm going to go ahead and assemble our ingredients. The first thing that I am going to use is the liquid aminos. The original recipe calls for half of a cup, but because we did go ahead and cut up more chicken than the original recipe called for, I'm going to do maybe about 3/4 of a cup of the liquid aminos. Next, we're going to go ahead and measure out our honey. Again, this is the keto honey that I am using. It does call for a whole half of a cup. And again, because I am making the recipe size a little bit bigger than it originally called for, I'm going to do about 3/4 of a cup. And I've got my tiny spatula, and I just want to make sure I get every bit of honey out of this measuring cup. And these little spatulas are so wonderful for helping with that. Again, the low carb keto honey is a little bit on the pricey side, so I want to make sure I use every bit that's in this measuring cup. And next I'm going to go ahead and measure out 2 teaspoons of the minced garlic, and they are heaping teaspoons, plus I used just a little bit more because, again, the original recipe called for about 2 teaspoons of garlic. So we're just going to add a slight bit more because we have closer to 3 pounds of chicken. Next, I'm going to go ahead and measure out the ketchup. I am using the Primal Kitchen organic unsweetened ketchup, and we're going to do 1/4 of a cup and then maybe about half of 1/4 of a cup. So whatever that comes out to be, you can do the math. We're going to go ahead and get our extra virgin olive oil measured out, and this does call for 2 tablespoons full. And I have to be honest with you, doing this voiceover and looking at the measurement size that I used, I cannot tell if I used teaspoons or tablespoons. I think that looks a little bit more like teaspoons. So if I used a little less, that's okay because it turned out just great. Spoiler alert. Next, we're going to go ahead and get our medium onion cut up. I struggled with this one a little bit because it had a couple spots on it that looked like it was starting to go bad, so I had to kind of cut around it. Generally, I would cut this on my cutting board, but since I had the chicken on my main cutting board, I went ahead and just used a plate to cut it up. I have this neat little contraption by OXO, and it kind of helps cut the onion into little pieces. So I did use that for this onion today. I did miss filming that part in the video, but just trust and believe that is what I used, and it helped to cut this up very nice and fine, just the size that I needed it for this recipe. So here is the neat little contraption that I was talking about by the brand OXO. It's OXO. And it just cuts it up into tiny bits. Definitely takes the work out of cutting onions. Sometimes I forget that I have it, but when I remember, I absolutely love it, and it did the job perfectly. Next, I just went ahead and gave everything a really good stir together so that all ingredients were well incorporated. The honey can tend to settle at the bottom of the bowl, so you want to give this a really good thorough mix. Then I'm going to go ahead and just add in my onion to the little marinade mixture that I have. And I'm going to give that a nice good stir once I have that into the mix as well. Next, I am going to go ahead and add in my black pepper. I am using, coarse ground black peppercorns. That is just, my choice of what I want to use. However, I have, more finely milled pepper as well. if that's what you have and that is what you want to use, by all means, go ahead and use that. And then I also have some Himalayan sea salt as well that is in a grinder as well. And that's what I am going to go ahead and use for my salt option today. Now next, I am going to use a little bit of ground red pepper. And to be honest with you, I cannot remember if I mentioned the ground pepper at the beginning of the video. If I did not, I apologize. It actually calls for red pepper flakes. However, I did not have any red pepper flakes on hand, so I went ahead and I used the red pepper. And then funnily enough, after I added my red ground pepper, I realized that I completely forgot about an ingredient that it does call for in this recipe, and that is ginger. I imagine that you could use ginger in any form. If you have fresh ginger or, something that's already chopped up, pre-bought, kind of like what I had. Luckily, that's what I went ahead and used. Although, if you do not have that, you can always leave that out of this recipe. And I'm just using a cheap Tupperware container that I have. Actually, this one was from the dollar store, and it's perfect. It's nice and deep and really good for marinating things. So the goal was not to have to touch the chicken here because trust me, when you're working with raw chicken, you do need to wash your hands frequently. And then the final step is just to pour all of this goodness over top of our chicken and to make sure that every piece of chicken is nice and covered by this marinade. Again, the recipe does not call for you to marinate this chicken, but I decided to do that. Just figured it was easier, and I will go ahead and get things set up with the crock pot tomorrow. And this is all ready to go, so that tomorrow all I will need to do is get this into the crock pot, and it'll do its magic while I'm at work. And this is the next day and what things are looking like when I returned home from work. This did go ahead and cook on low for about 5 hours in the crock pot. Do what works for you and your schedule. If you want to cook it on high or low, I did end up shredding it very easily. It was just nice and tender. And I am scooping it over top of some regular jasmine rice for my family, and I did go ahead and put some green onions on top as well, and I am going to garnish with some sesame seeds as well for the final touch. For myself, I did use a cauliflower rice. Now this did have a little bit of peas and corn and peppers in it, so it made it a tiny bit more carby than my normal plain rice, cauliflower rice, but not bad in carbs at all. Scoop the chicken on top and put some green onion. I can guarantee you guys this recipe is so good. Definitely give it a try. Highly recommend. This was better than expected. A little bonus footage for you here, a Ninja Creamy that I put together. I went ahead the night before and froze some yogurt. It is the Too Good brand vanilla bean yogurt. Put that in my pint and a half full, and then added in a couple tablespoons of sugar-free cheesecake pudding mix. The next day, which was today, got it out, added some fresh strawberries and 1 small graham cracker. Oh my goodness, it was still really low in carbs. Hands down, the best Ninja Creamy to date. And look at the creamy texture. So good. If you want to see a recipe for this, let me know. And as always, I just want to thank you for your support of the channel. I hope that you enjoyed the video today. And just thank you to everyone who keeps coming back time after time in supporting the channel. I do have a few regulars, and I just want to thank you for that. I can't express my gratitude enough for that, because I really do enjoy making these videos. Really, they're for myself, but then I just kind of hope that I'm helping other people in the process somehow. So thank you for your support, and I hope that you all have a great day, and I'll catch you in the next one. And let me know below if you decide to make this recipe. I would love to hear if you enjoyed it and how it turned out. Thanks, and have a great day. Bye-bye.